comes actually from nature, because I love nature. Nature inspires me. I love being surrounded by nature. I hike a lot every day, and there is something very, very strong in nature. Like if you see old houses or old walls, there's always things growing out of there. Nature grows out in the most unpredictable places. It is one of the strongest elements. There's nothing more strong than nature, I find, and it's captivating, it's intriguing, it's fascinating to me. I love it, and the inspiration to this form comes from nature.
Following the introduction of NC Ching, a young glass artist from Australia, in this video we have invited Tali Grinshpan, an accomplished Israeli-descended glass artist who's now living in California. In her work, she tells a story of fragility and strength, vulnerability and resilience. We hope you enjoy her video, and thank you for taking the time to know art glass.
So my name is Tali Grinshpan. I was born in Israel and grew up in Tel Aviv, and I moved to the United States in 2004. And I'm living now in the East Bay of Northern California, which is about half an hour east from San Francisco. I started working with glass in 2011. It is actually my second career, because originally my education is in psychology. I started learning glass in a community center in my town in Walnut Creek, and slowly started developing my own work and learning more and more about glass, and really searching to develop my own language using glass.
Just you're a glass artist, and this is a material which I don't often come across as for art. Was there a particular reason you adopted this glass as a material for art?
I grew up learning many forms of art, I would say using many different materials. Growing up as a child, I always enjoyed working with materials, so I had the chance to work with wood and with clay and with fabrics and with many different materials growing up. So glass was pretty accidental. I didn't decide, I want to know everything about glass. Now I'm going to jump in and go deep. It was pretty, it wasn't planned. I took one class because I was new in California, and I knew that I enjoy working with my hands. But very quickly after starting to work with it, I found a very, very interesting material that kept me interested and kept me challenged. And the more I thought I know about it, I realized that I don't understand it at all. And I really enjoyed this challenge of just exploring more and more. It's an intriguing material. There's something very magical about glass, and the combination of the heat and the effects, and how it can be solid and how it can become liquid and completely amorphous and then become solid again. There's something very magical to me about this. And
So you always have been a very creative person from the very young age, because you explore many different materials before.
I didn't know I was creative. I just knew I enjoyed working with my hands. I didn't really know or thought I am creative. I knew I enjoy working with my hands, but really pursuing the creative path and becoming an artist came a little later. I usually start with a concept. So I have either a story that I want to tell, or a memory that I want to share, or an emotion that I want to express. And that's where everything starts. It starts with a concept. I start writing things in my sketchbook and sketching different ideas, and also do some research about the idea itself, just as a part of the development of the idea. After I spend some time really thinking about how to express in a clear way my concept, I get to the hardest part, which is how to translate this concept into an object. And this is where I found the biggest challenge for me, how to translate my ideas into a three-dimensional object. At this stage of my process, I try a lot of things. I go through a whole process of testing, trying different forms, experimenting with different materials, not necessarily glass, because glass is a very expensive material. I start with other materials. And eventually, when I feel that I am at a place where, okay, I found the right form and the right object that I want to create, then I go to the glass and start creating it. During this process, there is also the technical aspect that I need to figure out how to make it. And this has always been a challenge as well, because I didn't really know how to work with glass. I'm self-taught.
Tali's work is very similar. And I want to touch on one thing that Raymond touched on earlier and Tali mentioned, which is I find it very interesting, is that there's a technical aspect to glass. Traditionally, we would think that artist has no boundary in terms of creativity, but also no boundary in terms of technical. So if you paint, I believe anyway, there's no kind of technical. But it's very interesting. You mentioned that in your glass, that once you have an idea, you have to work through the technical aspect to make sure that it can work. Now, I find it very fascinating because I looked at Tali's work, and a lot of it is very intricate. And it's very balanced, delicate. And these are kind of the words I see. And I didn't realize that. Now I'm assuming that is that process to achieve that took a lot of trial and error and technical exploration.
Sure. So basically, the method I use is called pâte de verre, which in French means paste of glass. So the raw material is actually crushed glass, very small particles of glass that I mix with some binder and some form of glue and water to create a paste. As a glue, there are many different glues you can use to mix with the powdered glass and water, but the end result is a very paste-like texture. And then there is a mold making process that uses some refractory material. So that would be a material that can withstand the heat in the kiln. So I create the mold, and then I have to pack the paste into the mold. And all that is done cold. So I build the mold, I pack the mold with the crushed glass paste, and when the whole mold is filled with glass, I put it in the kiln for firing. When the firing is over, I take the mold out, and I have to clean it up and get rid of all the mold material until I'm just left with the glass.